Our many sovereign worlds thrived under the guidance of the trade order, and for centuries we enjoyed peace and prosperity. The ways of war had been long forgotten. Then the aliens came. Despite fleeing from their own destruction, they overran our meager defenses, enslaved our people, and plundered our worlds. Desperate and unable to mount a resistance on their own, many worlds ceded their authority, transforming the Order into the Traitor Emergency Coalition. United under a single banner, we finally stood a fighting chance, and our vast commercial fleet was slowly retooled into a shield against the alien advance. It seemed our fortunes were turning as we mounted a counter-offensive. Such hope was short-lived. The long-vanished deviants, now calling themselves the Advent, returned more powerful and twisted than we could have imagined. Many undefended worlds fell to their corruption before we could redirect forces from the alien front. Caught between the Advent's revenge and the alien onslaught, we were forced to dig in. We built up mighty defenses to outlast our enemies, and eventually, we even sought peace. Now, after 30 years of constant warfare, our alliances are breaking down. The coalition is split between those who would withdraw and those who would lash out. Rebellion has even started to fracture the unity of the Advent. Unsure if they still want to destroy us or one another. Meanwhile, the alien assault has become increasingly desperate. Though strangely, their outcasts may end up being our salvation. Especially if the warning is true.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Kickstart Gamers video. I am Captpolak and today we'll be playing Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion. Now, Sins of a Solar Empire is a sci-fi real-time strategy game developed by Ironclad Gamers, and eventually it was published by Stardock Gaming, and it's also available on Steam as well as on their primary website. Now, Sins of the Solar Empire revolves around three factions. We have the TEC, the Traitor Emergency Coalition, which is humanity. We have the Advent, of sort of like an alternative faction of humanity, and then there's the Visari. The Visari. The Visari is an alien race that's been on the run from another unknown danger for, I believe, from what the site says, 10,000 years, maybe 10 million years. And they stumbled upon the TEC territory, like not like a certain amount of years later. If you want to read more about it, I suggest looking up on their sites, or also refer to the intro video. All right. Now then, we'll be playing on a smaller map. But before we move on to that, I'd like to show you guys the different types of planets that we have. Now, if you've already read that link that I've shown you about planet types, you can skip this this portion of the video and move on a little bit further to when we begin explaining the game and victory settings. All right, we'll start with star types. As you can see, we have a few star types here. We have the certain colors: blue, red, yellow, and green. They're all the same star, but obviously, just with different types of colors. Now, if you get the DLCs for Sins of the Solar Empire Rebellion, you'll notice that you have three new star types. There is the neutron star, the black hole, and the pulsar. If you, knowing a little bit on astronomy, I know what these are. Each star has a certain or not star. Well, I guess yeah, star and then black hole has certain attributes to it. Like one has double the radiation, which damages ships a little bit more. One has the ability to take away the antimatter, and as you can see for black holes, it decreases movement within the black hole's radius. So that reduces speed, and I guarantee you, it will take forever for your ships to go past. Alright, let's get into planet types. Now then, we have a fair amount of it, and as well as you get the DLC, you'll get the barren, oceanic, and ferocious and greenhouse planets. Now, oceanic planets are covered in completely water, and surprisingly, they offer the double amount of population increase within it, because due to the fact that humans need water, it's the perfect place to gather up as much credits as you can, the number of taxes implied on the planet. Speaking of credits and taxes, there's three materials used within Sins of a Solar Empire that's used, that makes the entire game go around. We have credits, which is your money that you gain from other planets that has population. Any planets that you own but have no population, you're not really going to get much out of it. Then you have the metal, which is used for building material, as well as crystals. And certain planets have, a certain credit increase, a certain crystal increase, as well as metal increase. Oceanic planets, and as well as the terrain planets, which I'll get into that a little bit later, those offer a fair amount of credit increase due to taxes. As you can see, we have barren planets, and then we have the ferocious planets. Ferocious planets tend to have more wildlife, thus it's more, dangerous for your population when you colonize it, and it might offer a little bit of a decrease in credits. Then we have the greenhouse planets, and then we have occupied planets. Now, occupied planets are more of a different game mode for occupation. I'll get into that a little bit more. These are like a special type of planet used for that kind of game mode. Alright, now we have the terrain planets. Terrain planets are Earth-like planets with tons of wildlife, and as well as your starting planets. Every civilization, or not civilization, see, I'm still in Civilization 5 since I was playing it recently. Every faction has a different type of planet. Not sure about the Visari. I haven't really played them too much. I know that the Advent tends to start out with a desert planet, but I believe that's from the original game, but they must have changed it for Rebellion. But guaranteed the TEC will start off with a terrain planet. Okay. Like I said, desert planets is where the Advent first originated, and it was their first home planet. And this one is somewhat similar to terrain planets, but, it might have a little bit of a difference since there's not a lot of water, there's not a lot of plant life. Yeah, you get the idea. Alright, ice planets. Ice planets are probably one of the three planetary bodies you'll encounter right after you leave your home world. Ice planets tend to give you more of a crystal increase. It's pretty good to actually get. Just make sure that when you find an ice planet, try to find a volcanic planet. That way you can keep that metal and crystal balance taken care of. And as I said, volcanic planets have a metal increase due to the increase in foundries on the planet after the population has inhabited the planet. Very useful to have along with the ice planet. Now we move on to the asteroids. Asteroids, you are bound to have an asteroid either on the left side or the right side of your planet, of your home planet, why it's kind of like that whole thing where like there's eventually an asteroid orbiting certain planets, and that's why one of the first things to colonize a freshly made faction will go to mine and use it for certain small resources and whatnot. Then we have the dwarf planet. It's a planet, just slightly smaller. It's like on equal terms with an asteroid in some way. Alright, then we get to the more pain-in-the-ass colonizable planets and bodies. We have the ship graveyard and the dead asteroid. These things are completely useless, but if they're located in a certain strategic location, they can be somewhat useful. Other than that, there's no resources. You can't put a population on there. It's worthless. You don't want to pay attention to those too much. Alright, then we have the asteroid belts and space junk. The asteroid belts and space junk probably carry a fair amount of materials like abandoned metal factories, abandoned crystal refineries, and you can capture them using a colony frigate, which I'll explain later on in the video. And then we have plasma storms, we have radiation storms, and we have antimatter fountains, as well as comets and shattered moons. Comets and shattered moons are fairly almost the same as dead asteroids and ship graveyards. They necessarily don't have too much there, so they're a little bit useless. But as for the plasma storms, ice fields, and radiation storms, those tend to hurt your fleets as much as the sun does when you head into the star system. And then we move on to the antimatter fountains. Antimatter fountains assist your ships by giving them more fuel. That way they'll be able to use more of their special abilities, which will go on, which I'll go explain to that later on when we begin the game. Then we have gas giants and magnetic clouds. Magnetic clouds are the same as a radiation storm, kind of useless. And a gas giants you can't colonize the gas giants, but they still have some asteroids eventually, orbiting their system. And now we move on to the wormholes. Wormholes are a little bit of a gateway between certain sections of a star, or even from one star to another. They're completely random. You have to go through at least one of them in order to figure out where does it lead to. And last but not least, we go on to the pirate bases. Pirate bases are the main locations where the pirate factions live, and pirate factions can be hired as mercenaries to assault another faction that's within the game. They're a pain in the ass to deal with, especially if as the game progresses, they get tougher and tougher as they go. All right. And now that we're done with that, let's move on to the game. Alright. We'll do, oh shit, no. Alright, before we start the game, let's go over the game and victory options. Now the game options, as you can see on the right side here, is a certain meter that allows you to make things go faster. Like there's faster credit rates, build, ship speeds. These are useful if you want to play a game, but you don't want to play it all day. Best to play it I highly recommend though. Play it on the fast settings. That way you can just cruise right through the game. Just cruise right through it. You'll probably be done within like 2 to 3 hours, all depending on like if you're rushing or if you're taking your time, colonizing the entire star and then pushing forward. It's every person has their own little strategy in the game. Then we have unlock teams and lock teams. This will decide whether you want to allow diplomatic strategies to occur in the game. So if you want to do just a 2v2 and the teams should just stay the same, stick to that. Just stick to locked. I like to keep it unlocked because I like to start off the game with no allies, everyone's neutral, and then if you see that you need maybe a certain assistance within the same star system, and there's someone nearby and you want to be friends with them, then that's when you start kissing up to them, giving them resources, and then be buddy-buddy later on. Might be beneficial, you never know. Then we have the settings for how large every fleet should be within the game. Personally, if you're doing a 1v1 or 2v2, I'd stay with large fleets. Unless, of course, you want to go with smaller fleets just to prevent that. But if you're playing on like a full scale, like 4v4 or an 8-player deathmatch, and you go for large ships, it's best unless everyone has a good computer. Just stick with small or medium. If you stick with a large fleet, the entire game's just gonna start lagging. Everyone's gonna be unhappy, and then the game's just gonna be kaput. Alright, and then we have the pirate options. This will give us the option to, allow pirates to exist in the game, or keep them on, or just turn them off. This one I'm going to be playing it as active, just to show you guys what the pirates do, and why I hate them so much. I just hate pirates with a passion, especially if you're going up against an AI, or a troll. And yes, I mean you, Zamus. People, that pirate thing has a little bit of a thing where the whole voting, or not voting, like bidding pretty much. You're practically bidding by time, because the pirates have like a meter that'll start off, and when you hear the sound "Pirate Raiders on the loose," it will tell you that you should start bidding, and then you'll see like bounties going up on the top right side of your screen. It'll say "Pirate Raiders are on the loose," and then you just hear. Like, you just see all these numbers go up, and you see different factions getting voted up to the top highest bidder. Eventually you'll hear let's just say that you don't want to be the guy that gets voted. So not only that, you'll be losing credits and resources just to keep that person, just to keep yourself in the clear, pretty much. But enough of that. And then we have quick start options, which allows you to have, maybe a certain amount of ships, as well as certain factories available on your planet. Like, it's like a pre-built thing. If you want the game to go fast and you don't want to waste your time spending money on building everything at once, go with just unlock that. But just go with quick start or not quick start. All right, now we're going into random events. Now, random events, if it works only if you have the Stellar Phenomenon DLC for Rebellion. What that does is random events will happen. A random Titan class ship will arrive within your system, and it's completely neutral. It's enemy to everyone, or not enemy to everyone. I would say neutral to certain factions, and then an enemy to whoever it's attacking. What else it'll do? It'll allow the sun to launch random particles at every single planet within the system until it runs out. And that will either destroy half your population, stop all production, or stop all fighters from launching. Pretty much just all that jazz. All that terrible, terrible jazz. I believe it also allows mercenaries or random militia to attack your planets, and with this DLC, it's best to have some sort of defenses around your planet just in case they attack, because you don't want to deal with that mess later while you're out on the front lines taking out whoever's enemy to you. All right, let's move on to the victory options. Now, there are 6 options to how you want to win the game. There is the diplomatic victory, where as it says here, you'll gain diplomatic points as they complete missions, form treaties and pacts, and use envoys after they establish a peace treaty. The player who reaches the indicated diplomatic points, is first to win the game. So, pretty much the player who kisses up to the other factions the most, and is all friendly, will win the game. Not really my favorite type of victory to actually choose. Then we have the research victory, which is the person with the most advanced technology of all the 3 factions. Well, I wouldn't say advanced technology. The aliens still beat them by, I guess, a few 100,000 years of technology if it comes to the humans. Anyways, the person with the most research, I would say, within that time period, will basically win the game at the time. Okay, now we move on to the flagship victory. Flagship victory is like a terminate the VIP or terminate the commander gameplay. Each person starts out with a flagship. If the other faction manages to take out your flagship, you lose the game, and the last flagship standing will win. Then we have the occupation victory. Now, the occupation victory is connected to the occupied planet that I explained earlier when we were showing planet types. Occupation victory is mainly like a King of the Hill type of gameplay. You capture the planet, or capture the location, and you hold it for a certain amount of time, and the person that holds it the most amount of time will win. Alright, then we have the Allied victory. Now, I will point this out, and I will call you out, Zamis, because this is Zamis' most favorite of all-time victories. Why? Because when it's Allied victory, and you're allied with maybe 1 to 2 people, and you defeat all the enemies, the game automatically ends. Reason why Zamis loves this the most is because he does not want to get betrayed by 1 of the 2 people that are within the alliance. So here's a good example of that. Me, him, and Z Hunter Katie are playing a game together. We take out all the enemies. Then me and Katie will plan a secret attack on him, and we'll wipe out his civilization within minutes. Hell, maybe even within seconds too, if we all have weapons of mass destruction. But yeah, this is I like to consider it the Zamis victory because he loves this. He loves the Allied victory so much. And then we go to my favorite one, which is the capital victory. Now, the capital victory is kind of like a domination victory in some sort, except, you know, you just have to take out the enemy's capital if you win. Now, I'm not one of those people that sends out their forces and everyone and just bypass all their planets just to get their capital. I like to slowly eliminate their borders, like just shape their borders a little bit until they're down to their last 3 to 4 planets, and then slowly take them out. And when they're down to their last planet, just send everything I have to them. Just send everything to that little planet after I eliminate all their other planets. Then there's just a massive ship battle with the remaining forces that they have. It's amazing. That's all I gotta say. Alright then. Now then, let me show you the factions that we have. We'll be doing a 1v1 for today. I'll let them choose their random symbol, I guess. Or actually, no. In this case, let me make them red. And probably the shittiest symbol here. I will give them this one. As for us, I will be blue because I'm a good guy. And I want this one. Alright, now then. Here are the factions that we have. We have the Traitor Emergency Coalition. And these are the 2 factions, or I guess sub-factions within that. We have the TEC Loyalists, which if you read the description right here, is that they want to seek isolation from the other factions. Meaning that, you know, they don't want to fight anymore. You know, they just want to, finally, finish up the war and then just move on. Then we have the TEC Rebels. Now the Rebels, they are, I guess you can say, a large racist faction, like Eno species. Like they hate all of the species. Like they hate the Advent, they hate the aliens, they hate anyone besides their own people. And so, as you can see, their benefits, they have roughly a different Titan than you can see for the Loyalists. Now the Loyalists I like to use because you can have 2 star bases. Now star bases are like small fortresses that you can build later on in the game once you unlock a certain object, like this one. This is the Ralzo prototype. It's like a large heavy constructor, besides the ones that you use to build your normal units. And you can insurgency. I can explain that later on once I get the upgrades. Here's your super weapon, and then here are your capital ships. Now, as you can see, a lot of the upgrades involve heavy defenses, like hardened defenses, compartmentalization. As you can see, we have deregulation, which is increases the power of all weapons, but lower construction costs. Battlefield promotions, and then of course you have the Titan. Whereas for here, there's more of an increased attack. So increased attack, increased defense. Now this is one of the more interesting factions that I like. This is the Advent. Me being like a big technology freak, I really like their technology. Well, besides the whole Unity thing. The Unity for them is a big collection of minds, so it's like a hive mind faction. Now, they used to be part of the TEC long ago, but as you can see, because of their fanaticism and what they use, they were ousted and then they came back. As you might have seen in the intro. And let's go on to the Loyalists. The Loyalists, they just want to continuously seek revenge because of what their ancestors had to deal with. So, you know, they're more of the fanatic parts of the whole entire faction. And then the rebels are the ones that realize that there's something going on, and so they seek unity and peace with all the other factions. And then these are their Titan class ships. And this is mainly the increase in firepower and corruption of all their upgrades. And as you can see here, theirs is also more of a defensive and increase in production. And here's their super weapon, which is the Deliverance design. This one, their super weapon compared to the TEC. The TEC is more about damage, bombarding a planet. This one is more about converting a planet. So when they launch their super weapon, it will increase culture spread, meaning it'll cause the enemy's culture to decline. And of course, you have your temples to increase culture, and then these are the capital ships. Now we go on to the aliens, the Vasari. Now the Vasari story is very interesting. The Vasari were just recently came to the TEC, the Trader Emergency Coalition space, just to wipe them out and run away, which I don't think Ironclad has actually announced it yet about the mysterious fighting force, but they might, I guess, talk about it in Sins of a Solar Empire 2, perhaps, but that's all rumors at the moment. But as the Vasari have been running away from a certain unknown species, terror, something bad, and they've just jumped into Trader space, and they've been in a long war, and they're desperately trying to finish this off so they can leave. But they're, I guess you can say they're like the Covenant from Halo. They either you join them or you don't. You become enslaved, or they wipe you out completely. Now the Loyalists are just like the Loyalist Advent. The Loyalist Vasari, they want to continue doing what they were doing. They just want to keep wiping out the other species and keep going to escape. And the rebels. The rebel factions feel like the best chance of survival against the unknown species is to ally themselves with all the other factions. Now, these are both of their Titan classes, and as you may see, the Loyalists have a little bit of an interesting upgrade right here. The Strip to the Core allows you to consume a planet once you abandon it. It strips all natural resources, and to generate a huge amount of credits and metal and crystal, and the planet is transferred into a dead asteroid. So pretty much they suck the life out of a planet if you abandon it. So say you don't want the planet anymore and you just order it to be abandoned, it will take everything. So in case somebody comes along to take it, the thing is nothing pretty much. Everything's been stripped clean. And as well as civilization evacuation, meaning it will allow you to resettle onto the Empire's capital, generating more tax income. And as you can see here is some of the other unique upgrades. And then here's the phase tunneling. Now this is necessarily, I guess, their super weapon, besides this. And what this one does is, if you guys have watched Star Wars, you know how they can jump to any planet that they want without using a certain, while jumping from planet to planet. This one will allow you to immediately jump to another planet with the same thing. So say I have my capital, and I put phase tunneling right there, and then I have one on the other side of the system, and say, okay, this is gonna take too long from jumping from system to system just to get there, and it'll take a minute or two. With phase tunneling, I can immediately jump from that location to my capital in an instant. It's good for emergencies. If you place these in certain strategic locations, like a very valuable shipyard, a planet with the most resources, and your capital, of course. And your fleets may be on the other side of the star attacking an enemy world, and they send their forces to attack your shipyard, and you can't get there in time because you'll probably lose half of your defenses, and maybe your planet's already on the verge of destruction. You can send them out there, and they'll make it there within maybe 30 seconds. So it's very useful to have. And alright, let's see what I have here for Visari Rebels. Visari Rebels, alright, now here's an interesting one for the Rebels. The Rebels have shared networks, so if you have allies, if you eventually make friends with some of the factions, and they need the freaking face tunneling. I'm sorry. They can use that and say okay, everyone meet up at this planet, and we'll use this phase tunneling to move to the location that we need to defend the most. And then your allies can make use of it, and it's pretty damn useful too. All right, so that's all the factions. And for today, we'll be playing as the TEC Loyalists. We're starters. Now for these guys, it'll be completely randomized, but we'll do Visari random, or I guess just random. And we will play on... oh, shit. We will play on hard for the moment. And we'll do a random thing. Actually, no, hold on. We'll do defenses this time, or at least just for now, so I can show you guys like how the AI or how they set up defenses naturally.